Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Webinar Series on Holistic Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 76 years of independence, India's G20 presidency, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030, as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Arts, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Today, we are commemorating International Day of Persons with Disabilities. On December 3rd, every year, we commemorate International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Of the 1 billion population of the persons with disabilities, 80% live in developing countries. An estimated 46% of older people aged 60 years and over are people with disabilities. 1 in every 5 women is likely to experience disability in her life, while 1 in every 10 children is a child with a disability. Today, the world population is over 8 billion people, and more than 1 billion people, or approximately 15% of the world's population, live with some form of disability. 80% live in developing countries. So we see 1 billion of 8 billion people, that is 1/8 of the total population, has some kind of disability. And the annual observance of the International Day of Disabled Persons was proclaimed in 1992 by the United Nations General Assembly, Resolution 47/3. It aims to promote the rights and well-being of persons with disabilities in all spheres of society and development, and to increase awareness of the situation of persons with disabilities in every aspect of political, social, economic, and cultural life. Building on many decades of UN's work in the field of disability, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD, adopted in 2006, has further advanced the rights and well-being of persons with disabilities in the implementation of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and other development frameworks, such as Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Management, Charter on Inclusion of Persons with Disabilities in Humanitarian Action, the New Urban Agenda, and the Addis Ababa Action Agenda on Financing for Development. So when we are talking about disability, what disability means? A disability is a condition or a function judged to be significantly impaired relative to the unusual or to the relative to the usual standard of an individual of their group. The term is often used to refer to individual functioning, including physical impairment, sensory impairment, cognitive impairment, intellectual impairment, mental illness, and various types of chronic disease. This usage has been described by some disabled people as being associated a medical model of disability. So, a disability is a condition or a function judged to be significantly impaired relative to the usual standard of an individual of their group. So, persons with disabilities, the largest minority, have generally poorer health, lower education achievements, fewer economic opportunities, and higher rates of poverty than people without disabilities. So, this is largely due to lack of services available to them, like information and communication technology, ICT, justice, or transportation, and the many obstacles they face in their everyday lives. These obstacles can take a variety of forms, including those relating to the physical environment, or those resulting from legislation or policy, or from societal attitudes or discrimination. People with disabilities are at much higher risk of violence. Children and disabilities are almost 4 times more likely to experience violence than non disabled children. Adults with some form or disability are 1.5 more times likely to be a victim of violence than those without a disability. Adults with mental health conditions are at nearly 4 times the risk of experiencing violence. Factors which place people with disabilities at higher risk of violence include stigma, discrimination, and ignorance about disability, as well as a lack of social support for those who care for them. Evidence and experience shows that when barriers of their inclusion are removed and persons with disabilities are empowered to participate fully in societal life, their entire community benefits. Barriers faced by persons with disabilities are therefore a detriment to society as a whole, and accessibility is necessary to achieve progress and development for all. The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD, recognizes that the existence of barriers constitute a central component of disability. Under the Convention, disability is an evolving concept that results from the interaction between persons with impairments and attitudinal and environmental barriers that hinder their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis with others. Accessibility and inclusion of persons with disabilities are fundamental rights recognized by the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and are not only objectives but also prerequisites for enjoyment of other rights. The Convention, Article 9, accessibility seeks to enable persons with disabilities to live independently and participate fully in all aspects of life and development. It calls upon states parties to take appropriate measures to ensure that persons with disabilities have access to all aspects of society on equal basis with others, as well as to identity and eliminate obstacles and barriers to accessibility. So 8 billion people of world population, over 1 billion people in the world have some form of disability. More than 100 million disabled persons are children. Children with disabilities are almost 4 times more likely to experience violence than non-disabled children. 50% of disabled persons cannot afford health care. 185 countries have ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. 7 targets of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, explicitly refer to the persons with disabilities. So, given the multiple crises we are facing today, the world is not on track to reach the numerous Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, targets by 2030. Preliminary findings from the following forthcoming UN Disability and Development Report 2023 indicates that the world is even more off track in meeting several SDGs for persons with disabilities. Our efforts to rescue the SDGs for, with, and by persons with disabilities need to be intensified and accelerated, given that persons with disabilities have historically been marginalized and have often been among those left farthest behind. A fundamental shift in commitment, solidarity, financing, and action is critical, encouraging with the adoption of the political declaration of the recent SDG summit. World leaders have recommitted themselves to achieving sustainable development and shared prosperity for all by focusing on policies and actions that target the poorest and most vulnerable, including persons with disabilities. When launching the United Nations Disability Inclusion Strategy in June 2019, the Secretary General stated that the United Nations should lead by example and raise the organization's standards and performance on disability inclusion across all pillars of work from headquarters to the field. So the United Nations Disability Inclusion Strategy provides the foundation for sustainable and transformative progress on disability inclusion through all pillars of the work of the United Nations. Through the strategy, the United Nations system reaffirms that the full and complete realization of the human rights of all persons with disabilities is an inalienable, integral, and indivisible part of all human rights and fundamental freedoms. In August 2023, the Secretary General submitted the fourth report on the steps taken by the UN system to implement UN disability inclusion strategy in 2022. So a commemorative event was also organized at UN headquarters on 1st December 2023 with the discussion structured around 5 pillars of sustainable development: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships, with a special focus on the priority areas identified in the SDG Progress Report of 2023, in the outcome document of the recent SDG Summit, in policy briefs prepared for the summit, for the future in the forthcoming UN Disability and Development Report 2020. So, for the purpose of the discussion, the priority areas can be identified as gender equality, people, climate action, planet, financing for development, prosperity, a new agenda for peace, and strengthening multilateralism, partnerships. So when we secure the rights of persons with disabilities, we move our world closer to upholding the core values and principles of the United Nations Charter. The United Nations Disability Inclusion Strategy provides the foundation for sustainable and transformative progress on disability inclusion through all pillars of the work of United Nations, peace and security, human rights and development. And we have similar observances which focus on disabilities, like 4th January is commemorated as World Braille Day, 21st March as World Syndrome Day, 2nd April as World Autism Day, 23rd September as International Day of Sign Language. The coming 10th December every year is designated as Human Rights Day. So the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD in short, has been ratified by 188 member states, and 164 member states has been the signatories. Option protocol was ratified by 104 member states and 94 signatories. Signatories include countries or regional integration organizations that have signed the convention and its optional protocol. The Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and its optional protocol, Wide Resolution 61 by 106, was adopted on 13th December 2006 at the United Nations headquarters in New York and was opened for signature on 30th March 2007. There were 82 signatories to the convention, 44 signatories to the optional protocol, and 1 ratification to the convention. This is the highest number of signatories in history to a UN convention on its opening day. It is the first comprehensive human rights treaty of the 21st century and is the first human rights convention to be open for signatory by regional integration organizations. The convention entered into force on 3rd May 2008. The convention follows decades of work by United Nations to change attitudes and approaches to persons with disabilities. It takes to a new height that the movement from viewing persons with disabilities as objects of charity, medical treatment, and social protection towards viewing persons and disabilities as subjects with rights who are capable of claiming those rights and making decisions for their lives based on their free and informed consent, as well as being active members of the society. The convention is intended as a human rights instrument with an explicit social development dimension. It adopts a broad categorization of persons with disabilities and reaffirms that all persons with all types of disabilities must enjoy all human rights and fundamental freedom. It clarifies and qualifies how all categories of rights apply to persons with disabilities and identifies areas where adaptations have to be made for persons with disabilities to effectively exercise their rights and areas where their rights have been violated and where protection of rights must be reinforced. The convention was negotiated during 8th session of an ad hoc committee of the General Assembly from 2002 to 2006, making it the fastest negotiated human rights treaty. The Charter on Inclusion of Persons with Disabilities in Humanitarian Action has been developed in advance to the World Humanitarian Summit, which was held on 23rd and 24th May 2016 at Istanbul by over 70 stakeholders from the states, UN agencies, the international civil society community, and global, regional, and national organizations of persons with disabilities. By endorsing this charter, you will commit to render humanitarian action inclusive of persons with disabilities by lifting barriers persons with disabilities are facing in accessing relief, protection, and recovery support and ensuring their participation in the development. Planning and implementation, humanitarian programs. This charter is open for endorsement by states and governments, UN agencies, organizations involved in a humanitarian context, and organizations of persons with disabilities. This initiative is co-founded by the European Union Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid, in short known as ECHO, and the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, in short known as DFAT. So the new urban agenda was adopted at the United Nations Conference on Housing and Sustainable Urban Development, Habitat 3, in Quito, Ecuador, on 20 October 2016. It was endorsed by the United Nations General Assembly at its 68th plenary meeting of the 71st session on 23rd December 2016. The new urban agenda represents a shared vision for a better and more sustainable future. If well planned and well managed, urbanization can be a powerful tool for sustainable development for both developing and developed countries. The new urban agenda has been translated into more than 30 languages, including 6 United Nations official languages, as well as the most widely spoken languages in the world, such as Hindi, Bengali, or Portuguese. These translations each more than 80% of the world's total population, calculating the language by total number of speakers. And it is also available in Indian languages like Bengali, Hindi, Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, and so on. It is also available in an audio format. In October 2017, 1 year after the Habitat 3 conference, the new urban agenda was published in audio version in the 6 United Nations official languages as part of Habitat 3 Legacy project, making it accessible to the person with disabilities. The translations were also possible thanks to the collaboration with the Victor Pinde Foundation and the World Enable. In October 2017, 1 year after the Habitat Conference, in the same year, the same year where in which audio version was available, the new urban agenda was published in Braille in the 6th United Nations official language as part of the Habitat 3 Legacy project, making it accessible to the persons with disabilities. The translations were possible thanks to the collaboration with the Victor Pineda Foundation and World Enable. So the global context, cities today occupy approximately only 2% of the total land. However, 70% of economy, GDP, over 60% of the global energy consumption, and 70% of the greenhouse gas emissions, and 70% of global waste is generated in the urban habitats. So the Global Development Framework, growing recognition of the urbanization reflected in global frameworks for sustainable global development. In Habitat 1 in 1976, in 1987, Brundtland Report, in 1992, Rio Summit, and Habitat 2 in 1996, and MDG adoption in 2000. This is a developmental framework. And in Istanbul, +5 in 2001 and 2002, WSST, Joburg in 2012. In Rio, after 20 years, and Habitat 3, PrepCom 1 in September 2014. Habitat 3, PrepCom 2 in April 2015. In September 2015, post-2015 development agenda, and December 2015, COP21. Habitat 3 PrepCom in July 2016 and Habitat 3 conference in October 2016. So rethinking the urban agenda is embracing urbanization at all levels of human settlements. More appropriate policies can be taken advantage of urbanization across physical space, bridging urban, peri-urban, and rural areas, and assist governments in addressing challenges through national and local development policy frameworks. Integrating equity to the development agenda, equity becomes an issue of social justice, ensures access to the public sphere, extends opportunities, and increases the commons. Fostering national urban planning and planning city extensions, deciding how relevant sustainable development goals with supported through sustainable urbanization, aligning and strengthening institutional arrangements with the substantive outcomes of Habitat 3 so as to ensure effective delivery of the new urban agenda. So implementing the urban agenda means urban rules and regulations, the outcomes in terms of quality of an urban settlement independent on the set of rules and regulations and its implementation. Proper urbanization requires the rule of law, urban planning and design establishing the adequate provision of common goods, include streets and open space together with an efficient pattern of buildable plots, municipal finance for a good management and maintenance of the city. Local fiscal systems should redistribute parts of the urban value generated with the consideration of national urban policies. These establish a connection between the dynamics of urbanization and the overall process of nation development. So this sustainable urban development includes inclusion of all disabilities and disabled population so that the infrastructure is disability friendly. So United Nations Disability Inclusion Strategy provides a foundation for sustainable and transformative progress on disability inclusion through all pillars of the work of the United Nations, peace and security, human rights and development. The strategy enables the UN system to support the implementation of Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and other international human rights instruments, as well as the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda for Humanity and Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. The strategy includes a policy and an accountability framework with benchmarks to assess progress and accelerate change on disability inclusion. The policy establishes a vision and commitment for the United Nations system on the inclusions of persons with disabilities with a strategy for action. There are three key approaches guide our work. The strategy is based on three overarching approaches to achieve disability inclusion: twin track approach, intersectionality, coordination. Disability is cross-cutting issue and should be considered in all our work. This is the first track. Targeted programming is also required. This is second track. Factors such as gender, age, and location inform an individual's experience. These factors also impact people with disabilities and their life experiences. A coherent and coordinative approach is essential to accelerate progress, build on each other's work, and achieve inclusion. Four core areas of responsibility includes leadership, strategic planning and management, inclusiveness, programming, organization culture. Leadership, strategic planning and management. In which senior leadership, which champions disability inclusion, strategic planning that takes into account people with disabilities, the development of disability-specific policies or strategies, and the establishment of teams or individuals with knowledge and expertise on disability inclusion. Inclusiveness, working on closely consulting, actively involving persons with disabilities and their representative organizations in everything we do, and ensuring full access for all to our buildings and facilities, workspaces, information and communications, conferences and events with specific measures, equipments and services to achieve it. Programming, working on supporting disability inclusive programming through practical guidance for the field and headquarters, developing joint initiatives to leverage our strengths and accelerate progress, and undertaking evaluations which provide information on how we are doing. Organization culture, working on evolving our internal systems in order to attract, recruit, retain, and promote persons with disabilities in the UN workforce, building the capacities of our staff to understand disability inclusion, and developing our communications to promote the rights of the people with disabilities and raise awareness on disability inclusion. So 180 member states have ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. 15% of the world's population, or 1 billion people, are persons with disabilities. 80% of the persons with disabilities live in developing countries. 7 targets of the Sustainable Development Goals explicitly refer to the persons with disabilities. When launching the United Nations Disability Inclusion Strategy in June 2019, the Secretary General stated that the United Nations should lead by example and raise organization standards and performance on disability inclusion across all pillars of work from headquarters to the field. To track progress on the steps taken by the United Nations system to mainstream disability inclusion and implement the strategy, the Secretary General submits an annual system-wide report to the General Assembly. The report establishes recommendations for the system to do more and lays down concrete steps to support member states to implement the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, contributing to a more inclusive United Nations for all. The first and second system-wide reports, 2019 and 2020, established a baseline on the status of disability inclusion across 131 United Nations country teams and United Nations entities. The agencies, funds, and programs, offices, and departments, and other related organizations of the United Nations The fourth report analyzes the continued actions underway by increasing number of entitled and 131 country teams across the programs and operations of the United Nations in 2022. It reflects on the progress made to advance disability inclusion, highlights new or continuing challenges and opportunities presented through the strategy's implementation, and emphasizes key areas of focus needed to continue mobilizing the system towards an inclusive, accessible, and sustainable world for all. Coming to India, in the year 1985 to 86, the erstwhile Ministry of Welfare was bifurcated into the Department of Women and Child Development and the Department of Welfare. Simultaneously, the Scheduled Caste Development Division, Tribal Development Division, and the Minorities and Backward Classes Welfare Division were moved from the Ministry of Home Affairs, and also the Waqf Division from the Ministry of Law to form the Ministry of Welfare. Subsequently, the name of the ministry was changed to the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment in May 1998. Further, in October 1999, the Tribal Development Division had moved out of to form a separate Ministry of Tribal Affairs. In January 2007, the Minorities Division, along with the Waqf unit, have been moved out of the ministry and formed as a separate ministry, and the Child Development Division has gone to the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Though the subject of disability figures in the state list in the 7th schedule of the Constitution, the Government of India has always been proactive in the disability sector. It is not only running 7 national institutes dealing with various types of disabilities and 7 composite regional centers, CRCs, which provide rehabilitation services to PWDs and run courses for rehabilitation professionals, but also funds a large number of NGOs for similar services, and also a National Handicapped Finance and Development Corporation, in short known as NHFDC, which provides loans at concession rates of interest to persons with disabilities for self-employment. Besides, the Union government is a party to Proclamation on the Full Participation and Equality of People with Disabilities in the Asian and the Pacific region, adopted at Beijing in December 1992, and the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, UNCRPD, which came into effect in May 2008. The subject has received attention in various state governments in varying degrees. At the central level also, disability being one of the several responsibilities of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment and being looked after by just one bureau has resulted in inadequate attention, as most of its time and energy is spent only on implementing ministry's own schemes, meeting their expenditure and physical targets, and organize annual time-bound activities like the National Awards for Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities. In the above background, it was started in the 11th 5-year plan that the Disability Division of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment will be strengthened by converting it into a separate department so that it can liaise effectively with all other concerned ministries, departments, and fulfill its responsibilities towards the disabled. Looking to the specialized nature of the subject on disability, the wide-ranging work to be done in the light of the UNCRPD and decision to create a separate Department of Disability Affairs within the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment was taken up by the government in principle on 3rd January 2012. This was also announced by the President before both houses of Parliament on 12th March 2012. Now, the two departments have been created under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment wide notification dated 12 May 2012, namely Department of Social Justice and Empowerment, Samajik Nyaya and Adhikarita Vibhag, and Department of Disability Affairs, Nishaktata Karya Vibhag of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, Divyangjan. So various schemes have been offered for NGOs, for education initiatives, and for economic development and social empowerment under the ministry. For NGOs, there are various schemes like Scheme for Residential Education for students in high schools in targeted areas, in short known as SHRESHTA, National Action Plan for Drug Demand Reduction, Atal Vaya Abhyuday Yojana, Avyay, in short, Scheme of National Awards for Outstanding Services in the field of prevention of alcoholism and substance drug abuse, Implementation Framework of National Action Plan for Drug Demand Reduction. These are the schemes for NGOs. As part of educational schemes, the ministry offers National Fellowship for OBC students, NFOBC, construction of hostels for OBC boys and girls, Dr. Ambedkar scheme of interest subsidy on educational loan for overseas studies for OBCs and EBCs, educational loans provided by NBC FDC, pre-metric scholarship scheme for scheduled castes and others, post-metric scholarship for SC students, upgradation for merit of SC students, central sector scholarship of top class education for SC students, national overseas scholarship, national fellowship for scheduled caste students, free coaching scheme for SC and OBC students, pre-metric scholarship for OBC students, scholarship for higher education for young achiever scheme, Shreyas, OBC and others, scholarship for PM Cares children, Proforma Annexure 1 to 7 for candidates and institutions regarding Shreyas for OBC students, and SSV entrance test, which was conducted in 2023. These are various educational schemes offered by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. And schemes for various economic development include entrepreneurial schemes of NBC FDC, Credit Enhancements Guarantee Scheme for the Scheduled Caste, National Safai Karmacharis Finance and Development Corporation, in short known as NSK FDC, National Scheduled Caste Finance and Development Corporation, NSFDC, Schemes of Assistance to Scheduled Caste Development Corporation, SCDCs, National Action for Mechanized Sanitation Ecosystem, in short known as Namaste, Pradhan Mantri Dakshata aur Kushayata Sampann Hitgrahi, in short known as PM Daksh Yojana, Scheme for Economic Empowerment of DNTs, in short known as SEED, are the various schemes for economic development provided by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. And various schemes for social empowerment include schemes undertaken by NBC FDC for promoting social empowerment, centrally sponsored scheme for implementation of the Protection of Civil Rights Act 1995 and Scheduled Caste and the Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, Information Monitoring, Evaluation and Social Audit, in short known as IMESA, Support for Marginalized Individuals for Livelihood and Enterprise, in short known as SMILE, PM Young Achiever Scholarship Award Scheme for Vibrant India for OBCs and others, in short known as PM SSV, and Pradhan Mantri Anushit Jati Abhyuday Yojana, in short known as PM Ajay. These are the various schemes for social empowerment offered by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. And there are various associated commissions which work under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, like National Commission for Scheduled Caste, National Commission for Backward Classes, National Commission for Safai Karmacharis, National Commission for Denotified and Nomadic and Semi-Nomadic Tribes. And as already informed, national institutes like National Institute of Social Defense is under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and various corporations under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment includes National Scheduled Caste Finance and Development Corporation, NSFDC, National Backward Classes Finance and Development Corporation, NBCFDC, National Safai Karmacharis Finance and Development Corporation, NSKFDC. And foundations working under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Dr. Ambedkar Foundation, Babu Jagjeevan Ram National Foundation. And various boards working under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is development under Welfare Board for Denotified, Nomadic and Semi-Nomadic Communities, in short known as DWB DNCs. Apart from that, Ministry has several other initiatives. So the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities in the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment facilitates empowerment of the persons with disabilities who, as per Census 2011, are 2.68 crore and are 2.21% of the total population of the country. These include persons with visual, hearing, speech, and locomotive disability, mental retardation, mental illness, multiple disability, and other disabilities. Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, Divyanjan, under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, were set up in May 2012 with the aims of facilitating empowerment and inclusion of persons with disabilities and acts as a nodal agency to look after all the development agenda of persons with disabilities. Divyanjan, empowerment of persons with disabilities is an interdisciplinary process covering various aspects, namely prevention, early detection, intervention, education, health, vocational training, rehabilitation, and social integration. The vision, mission, and strategies of the department are: vision to build an inclusive society in which equal opportunities are provided for growth and development of persons with disabilities so that they can lead productive, safe, and dignified lives. Mission to empower persons with disabilities through its various acts, institutions, organizations, and schemes for rehabilitation to create an enabling environment that provides such persons with equal opportunities, protection of their rights, and enables them to participate as independent and productive members of the society. So this International Day of Persons with Disabilities lets us focus on challenges faced by people living with disabilities. The day doesn't discriminate between mental and physical disabilities, and the spirit of the day is to ensure that all people in the world have equal opportunities for work, play, health, and success. People with disabilities can be and very often are contributing and value members of the society, and today is all about appreciating them. In US, Franklin D. Roosevelt becomes the first president living with a disability, and he advocates for the rights of those like him in 1933. The first official Paralympic Games were hosted, going for the gold in 1960. The Rehabilitation Act is passed to protect the civil rights of people living with disabilities in 1973. The United Nations made the decision that the year 1981 should be the International Year of Disabled Persons in 1976. But the year was in 1981. So the United Nations General Assembly declares the year 1981 as a year for disabled persons with an aim towards equality. So disabilities get a year. A day of observance is instituted. International Day of Persons with Disabilities is established by the UN General Assembly in 1992. Australia passed the National Disability Insurance Scheme in 2013. So we celebrate and commemorate this day to appreciate the contributions which people with disabilities make to our societies, and also to express solidarity with them in their struggle to overcome the barriers and challenges which they still face due to stigmatization and exclusion. The correct term which is accepted universally is to refer to them as a person with disability. By putting the person first, their humanity is more the focus rather than their disability. Anyone with a disability is to be referred to as a person with disability. They are not to be called as patients unless and until they are under the care of a medical professional or institution. So look around your community and the places you frequent. If accommodations for people living with disabilities are not in place, ask the owner, mall manager, and or your elected officials to install them. It's the law. Sometimes just delivering medication, dropping off the mall, or picking up a few things at the grocery, simple task for you, will make a world of difference to someone living with a disability. So lend a helping hand. As disability is not merely limited to physical impairment, it's important to learn more about how to communicate better with people across a range of disabilities. From learning sign language to learning the actual correct terminology to use, there are multiple ways to better engage with individuals as a whole. Find the one that best suits persons you know, so learn a new skill. Societies with lower incomes tend to have a higher rate of people living with disability. So disability and poverty do go hand in hand. Men are less likely to develop a disability as compared to women and children and elderly people. And women, children, and elderly are vulnerable. Some studies show that young people in the age group of 10 to 19 years have the highest rate of disability, and this is the age group most affected. It is said that at least 1 in every 4 20-year-olds is at risk of developing a disability. So 25% of 20-year-olds are at risk. 9% of disabilities are due to accidents. This means that accidents are probably the least of your worries when it comes to developing a disability. So people living with disabilities sometimes feel invisible in our society. People rush around them in their daily routines, barely noticing them. Today, try to make an eye contact and smile and be available to help should they seem to be having difficulties. We understand the difficulties people living with disabilities have. The treasured parking space right in front of pharmacy, the sloped curbs at intersections with the textured mats in place so the vision impaired folks can feel the curb it. The buttons to open the door automatically, even elevators on the subway are all in place to make a difficult life a little easier for a person with disabilities. Notice these accommodations today and then notice how few of them there are. It's more than a day, it's the law. The Americans with Disabilities Act was created to define the rights of the people with disabilities and the design standards which business and municipalities must incorporate to comply with the law called the ADA. It is quite explicit in the standards required, and a familiarity with it could be the most helpful to anyone in the US. Today, we are also commemorating Candle Day in US. Generally, every year on first Saturday, actually yesterday, this year of December, is commemorated as Bath and Body Works Candle Day. So every year since its day 2013 inception, candle lovers across the nation gather on the first Saturday of December to take advantage of the Bath and Body Works annual candle sale. 3-wick candles that usually retail for around $25 will only be available at $9.50. Some locations will extend their operating hours so that open earlier and close later, giving their customers ample time to go to store and sniff out their favorite candles. Though this is a day that candles are relaxing, make our homes smell good and decorative, but also be cautious of the climate change and greenhouse gases, because the burning of chemical wax or synthetic wax releases lots of toxins into the air that can also create a lot of respiratory problems and uh, air pollution that will accelerate the climate change. So today is also commemorated as Coats and Toys for Kids Day in US, which is also celebrated on first Saturday, that is yesterday, this year. This day is about people coming together and creating a positive change in what can sometimes seem as indifferent world. On CTKD, people donate cold weather gear like coats, boots, gloves, as well as toys to eligible families. This keeps kids warm and happy during the winter, as this is a winter season and is at the peak in some regions. So residents and surrounding business collaborate with the Salvation Army every year to lend a helping hand in kids keeping warm by donating winter coats and toys to families in need. In US, in 1983, the Salvation Army launched the Coats for Kids initiative. The aim is that no child will be left without a coat during winter. So this with several organizations to bring this day to different states with the help of volunteers. They work tirelessly to collect and distribute coats and toys to spread joy during these days. Thousands of winter jackets have been collected and distributed to children in need for over 30 years. Local companies and groups participate in campaign each year to keep children warm. Community members are asked to donate winter coats that they have outgrown or have otherwise not worn. Donation boxes and drop-off points are set up to encourage people to make donations. Donations are collected by the Salvation Army and distributed to the families who need them. Actually, this day shows the power of community and what can be achieved when communities come together. This initiative has provided children with the confidence they needed to succeed and socialize. The emotional benefits that come with knowing that there is a whole world out there ready to lend a hand are enough to fill their hearts with joy. So how you can help kids in need? Establish a charitable giving program or employee volunteering scheme at your workplace. Start a charitable giving initiative to help kids in your community, or harness the power of social media to create awareness for charitable programs and organizations. There are so many ways to help. You can donate used coats or toys. You should make sure that items are clean and in good condition. Although most people think of coat drives as a way to collect unwanted jackets, it goes beyond that. Getting a new coat fills children with excitement and boosts their self-esteem. So local organizations could always use an extra hand. Visit local centers and find out how you can contribute your time and effort to making the world a safer and warmer place for kids during the winter. Be a voice for change. Tell as many people as you can about CTKD and encourage them to participate. So volunteer in saving lives. Studies indicate that elderly people who worked as a volunteer for 2 or more groups were about 44% less likely to die during a 5-year period than their non-volunteer counterparts. The research project on gratitude and thankfulness found that educating undergraduates to count their blessings and practice gratitude prompted them to exercise often, boosted optimism, and helped them to feel better about themselves. According to a new study done by the Nathaniel Lambert of Florida State University, demonstrating thanks to a close friend or love partner increases or bond with them, bonding power. A report included in the proceedings of National Academy of Science reveals that when someone acts generously, it motivates others to act generously, building up good karma. Giving has also been connected to the production of oxytocin, a hormone that produces emotions of warmth, happiness, and attachment to others. It's the spot. Giving makes us happy. It is an amazing feeling when you can make someone smile. Michael Norton, a professor at the Harvard Business School, conducted research that posited that giving out money influences happiness more than self spending does. When you give to others, you are more likely to receive something back. We all love a little good karma now and again. Giving boosts cooperation and social connectivity. Showing gratitude is the default reaction to receiving a gift. Whether you are giving or receiving a gift, it can trigger feelings of gratitude, and gives promotes gratitude. Today is a celebrated as Great Day in New Zealand to celebrate the approach of summer. So the holiday celebration can be done in the privacy of homes, at parks, or on the beach. This celebration has its own set of commandments, such as thou shall begin at midday, and thou shall wear costume of the great day, singlets, doubles, and sandals. Today is also commemorated as Farmers' Day in Ghana. Celebrates the country's farmers and fishermen. The agriculture industry contributes at least 20 to 30% of revenue to the country's socio-economic fronts. The import and export business generates an income for many households and allows the economic industry to thrive. However, issues such as climate change have had a negative impact on the industry. The agriculture industry faced similar challenges during the early 1980s, but fought hard to grow it, which led to the observance of Ghana's Farmers' Day. It's a day to recognize and award the hard work of farmers and fishermen. The first Farmers' Day in Ghana was instituted in 1985. It was created by the Provisional National Defense Council, which at the time made up the whole of Ghana's administration. The day came as a result of 30% growth of the farming industry the year before. The country suffered from severe droughts in the early 1980s, which impacted crop yields. Ghana, which was largely dependent on the farmers to feed the nation, faced starvation and malnutrition. On the economic front, the country's GDP was also suffering immensely. However, the drought ended in 1984 and the country slowly recovered, recording an impressive 30% growth in industry. The fisheries also flourished at the time. In order to recognize the plight and hard work of all Ghanaian farmers and fishermen, the politicians decided to hold a Ghana's Farmer Festival every first Friday of December. So during the election years, the day is moved to first Friday of November, and the first Ghana Farmers' Day was held in Osino, which is located in the eastern region of Ghana. Osino was chosen as a prime location because it had been affected by the droughts of the most severely. Subsequently, the following years had been celebrations held in other locations that were also negatively impacted. Several activities take place throughout the day, and one of the most notable is award ceremony that recognizes the best farmers and fishermen. Judges note and follow all the registered participants' progress throughout the year. The judging categories include technological use, husbandry, and ecological awareness. In the first year, the winning farmer was awarded a radio, Wellington boots, and machetes. As the years passed, the awards grew in value, and one of the most expensive awards was a 3-bedroom house. One of the best ways you can support the farmers and fishermen is buying their goods. Not only you will receive fresher produce, but you will also likely get it at a cheaper price as the shopping cost will be reduced. Farmers worldwide would have to produce at least 70% more food by 2050 in order to feed the growing population. So growing population, the growing needs. More than 250,000 farmers in America. The agriculture industry is the largest employer in the world. Today, a single farmer with the right set of equipment can feed about 155 people with his produce. The nomadic tribes in 10,000 BC started farming for the first time, beginning the first agriculture revolution. So the main purpose of this day is to celebrate and recognize the farmers and fishermen. These people work tirelessly to provide their families and entire nation. It is through their hard work and the socio-economic wheels of the country are still in optimal working condition. The agricultural industry is one of the most important assets of any country. In fact, it wouldn't be wrong to say that many countries' backbone is made up of agriculture industry. It feeds the locals while bringing money from abroad through exports. The 1980s drought may have had the potential to destroy Ghana's agriculture sector, but the people did not give up and continued to work hard in the hopes of a better tomorrow. Difficulties will come and go, but the winners will always remain. It's a celebration of overcoming difficulties. Today is also celebrated as Let's Hug Day in US. Celebrates the warmth and comfort of a hug. Hugs are very versatile. Many of us hug when we wish to share our happiness with family and friends. At the same time, hugs are a staple when we are feeling low and need someone to just hold and console us. Hugs are also a perfect reconciliatory gesture when you want to make up with someone after a fight. Scientifically, hugs are known to release good hormones that can help lower your blood pressure and stress levels. So Zaborni did advise to first ask people if they are okay with hugging, as nobody likes non-consensual affection, even if it comes in the form of hugs. So the word hug is thought to come from Old Norse word haga, which means to comfort. Other scholars speculate the word have originated from the German word hegen, that roughly translates to cherish or foster. In the English language, hug is said to have been used somewhere in the 16th century. While the etymology and history of the word may differ, the emotion behind it has more or less stayed the same since the inception of the act. Babies who know nothing about the outside world reach out to their mothers, fathers for a dose of love and comfort. In fact, if babies do not receive regular cuddles and hugs from their parents, their relationship tends to take a beating. Therefore, having daily hugs is a necessary way to maintain relationships. Moreover, hugs also release the happy hormone called oxytocin, reducing cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Hugs can also help regulate blood pressure, heartbeats, depression, anxiety, and frustration. So it increases immunity, hug for a healthy heart, good for babies, children, reduces fears, and hugging release serotonin and oxytocin, both of which are feel-good hormones that make people happier overall. But make sure you have consented hugs. Do not annoy someone or invade into their privacy. Today is also commemorated as National Green Bean Casserole Day in US that celebrates the dish, and it's interesting. Green bean casserole is enjoyed by many all over the America for its few ingredients and simplistic recipe that does not require too much time and effort. Two of the main ingredients include cream of mushroom soup and, of course, green beans. The two are either mixed together or layered on top of each other. The smooth and creamy texture is complemented with extra crunchiness of French fried onions sprinkled over the top, and voila, you have the filling and nutritious dish. The recipe was such a game changer on the American food scene that its inventor, Dorcas Leland Bates Rayleigh, features in the Hall of Fame alongside with the likes of Thomas Edison and Muhammad Ali. The great thing about green bean casserole dish is how versatile it is. You can make the dish your own by adding your choice of ingredients to the main ones. When the recipe was still being developed, it had celery salt, Worcestershire sauce, and ham in it. But these were scratched off the list and ingredients were kept as simple as possible. Nonetheless, they would still make for a good filling casserole. So invite your family and friends for some green bean casserole potluck fun. Everyone can bring a green bean casserole dish, but with their own added twist. It would make for a great day for deliciousness and enjoyment. Green bean flowers can come in shades of purple, white, and pink. Unlike the crazy internet trend that saw teens eating inedible Tide pods, the pods that are actually edible are green bean pods. Green beans are extremely nutritious as they are packed with protein, fiber, iron, vitamins, and minerals. If you eat raw green beans, you will most likely to be consuming toxins that are concentrated and stored in the plant. So it's not advisable to eat raw beans, but it is very healthy and nutritious if green beans are cooked and served. After tomatoes and peppers, green beans are the most popular plant grown in people's garden as it is easy to grow. The main aim of creating green bean casserole was to allow people to have a filling dish without them having to put too much time and effort. With our busy 21st century lives, there's nothing more comforting than preparing first free food and simply enjoying the little relaxation time we may have available. Today is also commemorated as National Make a Gift Day in US. We love gifts that have a personal touch, and that's why we love National Make a Gift Day. This distinctive touch makes the gift all the more exclusive and adds more significance to the entire gift process. Biologists believe the gifting practice is an evolutionary act to establish dominance and show affection. Our nearest relative in the animal kingdom, chimpanzees, are a great example of this. Males give female gifts of food to attract them. Evidence shows that cavemen gave gifts like teeth or stones to potential mates to people who have done something good for the tribe or to other loved ones. Several older cultures have their gift giving ceremonies special to their own traditions. Native American cultures practiced a gift giving feast called potlatch for thousands of years. Egyptians took gift giving one step further. They buried their dead with gifts to guide them peacefully into the afterlife. The ancient Greeks too gave us the tradition blowing out candles. They believed evil spirits would come to haunt a loved one on their birthday. So they lighted candles and blew them out, making a wish to the gods to protect the birthday girl or boy. Finally, today we are commemorating the last commemoration of the day, National Roof Over Your Head Day in US. Following closely after Thanksgiving, another day to be thankful, National Roof Over Your Head Day asks us to give thanks for what we have, beginning with the roof over our heads, particularly because many other people lack this basic necessity. So this day is a lovely reminder to be content with our lot and avoid worrying about things we do not yet have. Every day, there are as many as 100 million people without a roof over their heads all around the US. And this is likely the season this day was created. Many states have come up with their creative solutions to elevate this problem and continue to devise and roll out strategies to enable shelters for every person in US. With about 151,278 homeless people, California in US, according to 2021 report, has the largest homeless population in America. Having a roof over one's head, per Merriam-Webster, online is having a place to live. Two events fall on December 3rd each year: National Roof Over Your Head Day and International Day of Persons with Disabilities today. In additionally, two other events like Foxford Day and National Bartender Day also fall on the same day. They are celebrated on first Friday in December. So as of January 2020, around 5,80,466 people were homeless in the US. 6.3 million American households spend more than half of their income on housing, according to a 2019 survey. 50% of income goes in housing. 82 communities and 3 states announced that they have ended veterans' homelessness, a condition where homelessness for this group of people is rare, very brief, and is a one-time thing. There is another group that has seen an overall decrease since 2007 by 27%, homelessness for families with children. 58% of all homelessness system beds have been designated for permanent housing. 46 states and District of Columbia have contributed to this trend, increase in permanent housing beds. This month is also commemorated as Spiritual Literacy Month. In US, Spiritual Literacy Month has been observed every December since 1996. The main aim of the month is to encourage us to read at least one book on spirituality. This December, we can open up our minds and at the same time deepen our faith by reading books about spirituality, faith, or religion. Remember, we can be spiritual without being religious. Whether you are religious, spiritual, or just curious about increasing your knowledge, pick up a spiritual book to read this month to learn more about that awakens the souls of people around you. Spiritual Literacy Month is observed in virtually every country in the world. This observance was called Reading the Book of the World by the Priests and monks believe that everything happening inside and outside of us is a message, a letter to be read in history, and able to navigate their way through the wilderness by reading. The history of spiritual literacy is deeply rooted in the story of humanity from creation through the present age. However, at different points in the history, there have been various notable figures who has championed the course of educating and encouraging people to embrace the practice of spirituality. Before the concept of religion came about, there have been diverse ways that people devised to communicate with their maker. Also, different systems determine the manner of spirituality, like it is seen in modern day diversity. Even if you aren't a deeply spiritual person, you can embark on this journey to connect to something bigger than yourself and to learn more about why people believe what they do. Reading is a spiritual act as it opens our minds to a whole lot of new things. By reading spiritual books, our mind gets preoccupied with a new paradigm. Spirituality is connected to crucial aspects of human functioning. Spiritual people are more likely to have positive relationships, high self esteem, be optimistic, have meaning and purpose in life. As a way of observing Spiritual Literacy Month, volunteer to teach and enlighten others about your spiritual values. You can also take time out to visit spiritual gatherings to participate in the spiritual activities. Peace is what the world needs, and what a great way to proclaim peace and love during this celebration. Proclaim your love for the neighbors from other religions. There are 4 types of spirituality, namely ascetical, mystical, prophetic, practical, and active practical. The concept of religion has moved past the boundaries of religiosity to other sectors such as business, legal practice, and healthcare, and spirituality is non religious. Spiritual literacy can include meditation, contemplations, and resolutions, which all transform the life of a person. Your mind can be uplifted, refreshed, and regenerated by reading a spiritual book. Reading a holy book can offer you a deep soul searching experience and connection with your Creator. Learning about other people's spiritual perspectives and ideals make it easy to understand them. In addition, you will get a robust knowledge of other spiritual way of life. Reading spiritual books opens up an entirely new world. Meditating upon sacred words awakens our mind spirituality and mentally deepening our faith and belief. This month is also commemorated as Worldwide Food Service Safety Month. In the month of December gives us the opportunity to revisit food rest standards in the food service industry and their impact on our health and well-being. Everyone loves delicious dishes and scintillating aromas that have us salivating and craving for more. But more important that the food we eat is the process of cooking and the hygiene observed before, during, and after preparation of the meal, and this month serves as a perfect reminder. Cooking has evolved over the years into endless food combinations and recipes all over the world, taking root in the age-old secret family recipes that have resulted in scrumptious meals filled with love and warmth on the tables of every household. Cooking and preparation of food has moved to inns, restaurants, cafeterias, diners, and grills where anyone can go to satiate their taste buds from the different cuisines available. Since ancient times, numerous concerns have been raised about food safety practices, especially on matters surrounding food adulteration and preservation. In the US and across several European countries, concerns regarding cleanliness arose as science began to link dirt with diseases. Towns were instructed to set up health committees and appoint health officers to monitor and enforce sanitation in their communities. This served as a foundation for several other safety regulations that cropped up in the US and subsequently all over the world. As the science began to reveal the existence of infectious diseases rising from the microorganisms and how they can be transferred and transported through food. So this is a time to retrace your steps and pick up those proper cooking hygienes that have been thrown by the wayside. Always endeavor to wash your hands properly before and after cooking, and make sure you thoroughly wash vegetables and fruits before you eat them. Never store cooked food and raw food together to prevent movement of bacteria from one to another. Some food materials require being stored in cool places. Some require warm storage and some cold storage. Most prepacked foods contains information on the kind of storage necessary, and if not stated, you can find this information online. Always clean your cooking equipment and make sure to wash cleaning clothes in hot water. Clean properly. Millions of people get sick from the foodborne diseases every year, with thousands of dying and many others procuring lasting diseases from it. Foodborne diseases can be deadly. Freezing of food materials does not kill bacteria but only stops their growth. Cooking is what kills them. So freezing doesn't kill bacteria. Bacteria can move to other food particles if food is put together inside refrigerator. It's best to store foods, raw foods, and fruits separately. Cross-contamination can occur in the refrigerator. This is true. Chopping boards contain more germs than toilets. This is true due to potentially harmful germs hiding in the crevices and scratches. Wooden boards are safer than other materials and should always be properly washed and dried. Contrary to the popular belief, bacteria can get attached to the food as soon as the food touches the floor. The 5-second rule. A lot of foodborne related illness and deaths could have been avoided if the right safety measures have been taken. This is a time to remind us once again how poor hygiene and bad food practices can be debilitating. It's an initiative that saves lives. Bacteria have been known to cause quick spoilage of food materials. World Food Service Safety Month seeks to improve productivity and quality of food across the globe. It increases productivity. Foodborne diseases have caused a wide outbreak of sickness and deaths in countries around the world, leading to economic and social dilemmas. World Food Safety Month aims to prevent a recurrence and enable ease of life for people. This month is also commemorated as Universal Human Rights Month, as we are also celebrating Human Rights Day on 10th December. We have seen our share of cruelty and hate. We can do better. That's why the world is observing Universal Human Rights Month during December. This month is a reminder that the United Nations General Assembly codified the basic human rights of every person. It's also a time to reflect on the way we treat others and to do what we can in the fight for equality, especially in a time when topics such as systematic racism are widely being addressed. Research what these freedoms mean to you. Reread the Bill of Rights. This time of understanding also honors the work of those who brought them into existence. Organizations such as Amnesty International, a charity that works to support and spread awareness of human rights, are always looking for volunteers. Do your part to help protect others through volunteering. Help those who are hurting in your own community. After all, to start changing the world, sometimes you just need to start locally. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights emphasizes human rights regardless of gender, age, race, political affiliation, or sexual preference. On 70th anniversary, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights have been translated into more than 500 languages, more than any other document in the world, and it is multilingual. Cultural events and exhibitions take place all surrounding human rights issues, causes for celebration. Human Rights Month is a powerful day, powerful month as it allows us to look back on the ways we treated our fellow humans. It allows us to reflect. It reminds us of our ideals. These include individual freedoms, which we must fight to protect. The principles in the Declaration of Independence are still relevant today. This fact should empower each of us to stand up for ourselves, our own rights, and for the rights of others. This month is also commemorated as Gift of Sight Month. Is an attempt to raise awareness about the importance of eye health. Regularly getting eye checkups done and taking care of our eyes, it's safe to say that our vision is something we all take for granted. And it is usually hard to be grateful for something when we had it all our lives. However, many people around the world might consider good eyesight a luxury even. Healthy vision plays a crucial role in overall health and well-being. And so it's obvious that it is also important to spend some time looking after them. December has been designated as Gift of Sight Month by Versant Health, an American vision care company, in the honor of wonders afforded by regular eye care and health vision during this holiday season. For many Americans, it often means having access to affordable and quality eye care. The company established this day after a vision wellness study discovered that only 51% of people regularly saw an eye doctor. The same study also found that 39% of the consumers mentioned cost and affordability as a reason behind household members not seeing an eye doctor as frequently they would like to. Gift of Sight Month aims to address these issues with both action and education. Research has shown that regular eye exams not only protect us from debilitating eye diseases such as macular degeneration and glaucoma, but they can also be a means of detecting some common diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, and even dementia. With the Gift of Sight Month campaign, there is heavy advocacy for eye exams as a low cost and effective form of preventive medicine. It focuses on the connection between eye health, wellness, and overall health, with the eye exam being at the heart of the intersection. Whether you are 80 years old or 80 years old, routine eye exams are crucial, not just for your vision and eye health, but for a myriad of other health conditions. Eye is made up of 7 orbital bones. The rarest eye color is green. One of the most important parts of the eye is retina because it converts the light captured by the eye into electrical signals that can be processed by the brain. So get an eye exam, call your doctor and fix an appointment today. Doesn't matter if you have perfect eyesight. It's important to keep getting routine eye checkups done every once in a while. They are quick and painless. Donate to nonprofits and other organizations working hard to help heal people's eyes. A small donation could mean a wide access to eye health care for many people. Spread information about the Gift of Sight Month and everything it stands for among your friends and family. Post pictures of you getting your exam done on social media and inspire more people. The human eyes can focus on 50 different objects every second. They are multitaskers. They see a wide range of colors, can distinguish about 10 million different colors. The average person blinks 15 to 20 times per minute. Shark corneas are nearly identical to human cornea and have been used in human eye surgery. Heterochromia is a medical term for having two different colored irises. Eye color varies. Routine eye checkups are best way to avoid illness from escalating and can even detect non-eye related diseases. Don't wait till it's too late and get a preventive eye exam done. Healthy vision and eye health affects our overall well-being too. Taking care of your eyes is not just great for your vision, but your whole body will thank you for it. It encourages good health. Access to decent and affordable healthcare is still a dream for many Americans. This month promotes better access for all with providing tips and resources. So finally, this month is also commemorated as National Drug and Drug Prevention Month in US. People go out for fun parties, drinks with family and friends, but we ask you to stop and think for a second about being responsible. December is National Drunk and Drugging Driver Prevention Month, and I see this new year generally on December 31st and 1st, and this is being a holiday season, and people spend most of the time in boozing and in consuming alcohol, smoking, and all sorts of things, which has no benefit other than killing themselves and killing others directly and indirectly, as this is a drug abuse. So it is important that this season has a higher accident rate than others on average. And it is important to echo the message of consciousness of being in proper state behind the wheel. According to the National Safety Council, over 40,000 people died in alcohol-related traffic accidents last year. So this year, stay safe during the holidays. Since 1981, high officials all across America have worked hard promoting the importance of staying sober while driving during the month of December, proclaimed National Drunk and Drug Driving Prevention Month or National Impaired Driving Prevention Month, and it all stemmed from one woman and her resolve. On May 3, 1980, 13-year-old Carrie Leitner was struck and killed by Clarence Bush in a drunk driving accident. When police arrested Clarence, they found this was not his first occurrence, even down to hit and run drunk driving fine less than a week before this accident with Carrie. At the time, driving while intoxicated was a misdemeanor that was barely prosecuted, meaning that the bus was very unlikely to have gone to jail. This unacceptable fact motivated Gary's mother, Candice Leitner, to take action. The result was the non-profit organization known as MADD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Candice's movement quickly grew across the nation. She pushed to more strict definition of what drunk driving was, having legislators pass stricter laws and prosecutions that included jail time and license suspensions, up to having President Reagan establish 21 as the minimum drinking age and appointing Leitner as part of commission developed to tackle the issue. To this day, Candy continues to advocate for the anti-drunk, drugged and distracted driving legislation. As president of We Save Lives, I am not against drinking. I am responsible for drinking. We don't let people walk around with a loaded gun in our neighborhood, but we let them drive when they're drunk. So 27 people die daily. It is the amount of people who die in drunk driving accident in the US. Around 6 out of every 10 fatalities on South Africa's roads are drunk driving related accidents, and South Africa has the highest rate. The first ever arrest was in 1987. George Smith was the first person ever convicted of drunk driving after he slammed his cab into a building. The two deadliest days, on average, New Year's Eve is the day with most DUI arrest, but 4th of July has the most drunk driving related deaths. That's why December 31st and January 1st is synonymously commemorated as a drinkers day or drunkers day. On average, New Year, so neither coffee nor showers will make a person sober up, only time does. So there is no sobering element. So especially we see, because this December season is a holiday season, and most of the festivals, especially celebrations come up. And so people engage in heavy drinking, smoking, and consumption of drugs, which is, not good for health and causes a lot of health issues, and also leads to drug addiction and deaths. With all the drinking during the holiday season, it is not a stretch to see why so many people are dying on the roads and getting addicted to cancers, and also contracted with cancers and so on. So consider this dreadful static. Over 45 people are killed each day by an alcohol impaired driver. And those numbers climb at the end of the year. Additionally, in 68% of the traffic fatalities involving a drunk driver, there was a blood alcohol concentration, BAC, of 0.15 or higher, with the legal limit being 0.8. So Mother Against Drug Driving, MADD, has expanded its mission statement to include drug-impaired driving. Mixing alcohol with opioids may increase a driver's sedation, which can lead to serious consequences on the road. In 2017, researchers at Columbia University reported a 7-fold jump since 1995 in the number of drivers killed while operating a vehicle under the influence of prescription drugs. It's especially true on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, when holiday parties are in full swing and the bars are packed. So the fatality risk goes both ways. It's more likely that an alcohol or a drug-impaired driver will accidentally kill either themselves, their passengers, or a pedestrian, or than inebriated pedestrian will walk into the path of an innocent driver. So with this, we shall conclude today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us today. See you all tomorrow at the same time with the same link for different commemorations. Take care. Good night. Before leaving, we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form, which has been shared in the form of polls in Zoom platform. All the certificates will be issued at once at the end of the series. So whenever they are updated, they will be available on the website for download. So thank you everyone once again. Take care. Good night.